let's try this again. Fingers crossed, Jon Binnie is going to be able to join me. This live was inspired by something that one of my new members in my membership said to me. And so, yeah, can't wait to join the membership kind of thing. And I said, oh, that's amazing. But not everybody consumes content in that way. So I said, let's go live and talk about it. Because, right, fingers crossed, you've requested and I've accepted. So double crossing our fingers that it's going to let you in. Yeah, I said not everybody consumes content and acts on it in that way, right? The only reason my content has been able to change Jon's life, my free content has been able to change his life, is because of the way he has interacted with it. And that is all on him. And so, yeah, celebrating Jon by hopefully having this conversation, although it doesn't look good, does it? Who knows why this is not happening? So you're not able to join. It's such a shame. Okay, I will go into the DMs. I'm not going to share this. I'm not going to share this. Oh, you did! Is it anybody?
Yes.
No!
Let me flip my camera around. That's really strange. It never does this.
That's so cool. It said that you're not able to join, and then suddenly it let you in. So amazing. Okay. You can just see your ring light at the moment, eh? You're gonna.
Yeah, that's really strange. And now the controls have gone dead. Hopefully you can hear me.
Oh no! I've done a couple of lives where I've been the guest and I was on show like to everybody else, but for me, I just had a complete black screen. So it is a little bit glitchy at the moment. What do you want to do? Do you want to?
Just give me a second.
Are you still there?
Oh, I can. Can you hear me? Okay?
Yes. Amazing. Yes. Yeah. Fantastic. Hello.
We did it.
Right. When I post this, I will look at the timestamp and then put in the caption, skip forward to right now. So this is the start of the video. Welcome, Jon. Thank you so much for joining me. What was I was going to say? Yeah, so I was saying at the introduction that when Jon has just joined my membership, and Jon said when he signed up, he said, my content has absolutely changed your life. My free content has absolutely changed his life. And so you said it in the context of looking forward to what the membership does. And I said, that's amazing. But not everybody has that transformation from free content. So I thought, what an amazing idea to go live with Jon and share the value that you have here, because the way that you've interacted with my free content has meant that you've changed your life, right? It's all on you, the way you've interacted with it. And just like, yeah, it's been incredible. So first of all, before we go into it, Jon, please can you introduce yourself to people who this is the first time meeting you?
Thank you, Jenna. Oh, I'm just so excited. So yeah, where do I start? My name is Jon Binnie. I live in Scotland. I'm a father of two. And I've been in the software engineering and artificial intelligence development career for 26 years, going up to like CTO and senior management in a global company. And that career has been fantastic. However, my whole reality shifted in 2017. I went through a spiritual awakening in an hour-long Kundalini yoga session. First time I meditated, I saw like the creation of the planets and stars and thought I should do this every day because meditation seems really cool. And so I have done that every day since 2017. And in that journey, I started writing songs every day, like connecting with my spirit guides and asking them for messages, creating songs. I now have the world record for the most studio albums digitally released at 110. That was last year, and just today finished 142. So I thought that was going to be like my main side hustle, but it turned out that was just a side hustle. Because on that journey, I also met Jenny from Starseed Academy, who's one of your amazing members, and I realized that actually I'd learned how to like channel like spirit guides, and I'd learned how to do all kinds of like spiritual stuff. And so started a business where and Jenny was like, you just need to learn it yourself, just do it yourself. So I started learning how to do quantum healing and heal people's chakras, past lives, activate their gifts. Like, it's just, and the list is very long, but it's like a long list of stuff. And so I was doing a couple of sessions a week, and it just started as a small side hustle. And then I realized I went part-time in my career 2 years ago, and started doing more of my, not more music, but more healing and mentoring. And I love doing mentoring in my corporate job, and I was like, I could do more of this and help people in their journeys. And so I took the decision last year. I mean, there's been a lot of fear. There's been a lot of fear for me, like many people, right? It's like, why would I give up, like, you know, such a huge salary and then go to what? You know, go to what, John? And in fact, I worked out my business last year. If I didn't pay myself any money, would have broken even on my website costs and my mailing costs. And I was like, wow, that's a zero, an interesting zero to start from. So that's my to almost today.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so so you were in one of my client Jenny's world, and I think we crossed paths. I think, was it when I did a sort of client interview with
That's
Jenny
right.
on
Yes.
her page, because we had Instagram tech issues. She was supposed to go live on my page, but it didn't work. So we ended up doing on her page, and that's when you found me. And yeah, we connected in the DMs, and you like inquired straight away to work with me, and we would just went back and forth, and it wasn't right. And I just said, right, and I just pointed you to my free content, like, because I pour so much into like my live streams and my podcasts and everything.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that you were kind of like consuming them all in the meantime. But and then that you came out of the blue with that comment the other day, and I was like, wow. So what's been going on, John? How did you? Yeah, what was the life-changing like thing? Like, how did it change your life, and how did you make that happen just from free content?
For me, like the biggest, most profound shift was I started listening to your podcasts. I think I was like out walking my dog for the first 2 or 3. I have to walk him 3 times a day, and I was out in nature, and I was listening to you, and you were talking, and I can't remember the exact one. And I think at least in this, by the second, you're like interviewing someone else, and there was just this paradigm shift going on in my mind, which was, so there's a version of me, of John, that could wake up tomorrow and not have all these limitations, not, you know, to remove the limitation of like, well, what if I am actually a business owner who can build like a, you know, multi-100,000 pound a year company or whatever I choose. Like, why am I not that person? What am I scared of, and what am I? And then I started listening to all your things, like you're talking about, and I'm sure we'll cover them in a moment. But as you kind of talk through like your higher self system, and then also like the even more like, what are my shadows? What are my frictions? What am I scared of? What is the thing I really want? That, and I don't, you know, and I know we'll talk a lot in this session, but I feel like that was the biggest epiphany I had, that there's a different version of me that doesn't have these same limiting beliefs. To be honest, I never really worked with a mindset coach before or consumed content. I'd listened to like Diary of a CEO and lots of others, but I would put other people on a pedestal and say they have that mindset, not me. And it's so strange because it's not how I've been in my 26-year career in software. I've been like, I could achieve anything. Like, why not? I could just build an amazing team, build amazing products, and sell them globally. Like, I've done that, you know, time and time again. And then what I was missing was me. Like, what did I need to change? And I listened, I think maybe by the 3rd or so podcast, and I can't remember your guest's name, but they were talking about how they repeated the same pattern. Oh yeah, I think it was like one of your Wednesday kind of office hours type calls where people were calling in, and I saw that there was a journey for me, that if I just repeated the same pattern, so if I just said if I said all these, you know, these false truths, like if I said to myself, working hard will make me successful, if I said working long hours will make me successful, if I compromise on my work-life balance, if I lower my vibration and compromise on my values, all these things are the keys to my success. Like, no, 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 no. And I would literally run into that. And if I hadn't met you, I would have done exactly that. I would have run into all that chaos.
Yeah. Something that I really want to pick up for people who are watching this is I can't remember the exact word that you said, but you said something like, when I was working with Jenna. So you've got the mindset that you were a client when you were listening to the podcast, right? You've joined the membership. You've officially become a paying client, shall we call it? And I know why you've got this, right? Because you know what I said on the podcast, and I'll come to that in a second. So you've become a paying client in the last couple of days because you've joined the membership, but you had the mindset that you were working with me a long time ago when you were listening to the podcast. And did that come, let me ask you this, did that come from me? I know I say it quite a lot on the podcast. Listen to this as if you are investing, because I see my community on Instagram and my podcast listeners, I see you all as clients, and some of you pay me inside my programs. Did that come from me saying that, or not necessarily that, but like, did you have the mindset that you were a client of mine as you were walking your dog and listening and consuming the podcast episodes and live streams?
Yeah, I think it took a podcast or two until I began to realize that you were talking to me, and that you weren't just broadcasting to the world of some other people, that actually these things, because they're resonating with me. And yeah, I just very naturally, intuitively felt like, well, Jenna's my new business coach, and that's it. Like that was the switch for me.
And that massively matters, though, because so you had that intention as you were, press and play on a new episode. That matters so much, because that switches gear, like subconsciously, from how you might consume, like, the radio that's on in the background as you're cooking dinner, kind of thing. Like, there's nowhere near the amount of focused intention if you've just got the radio or a podcast on in the background, as if you're like, I see Jenna as my coach, even though I'm just listening to a podcast here. It's so cool.
I felt like
the difference.
I felt like it was. I learned in my software job that it's so helpful to start with a problem. Like, if you know what the problem is, you can like design reorientate reality around it and solve it. And what you taught me in the first couple of podcasts was that I had a problem, that I had a mindset problem. Like, and it's more than, to be specific, it's like I had, lack of, fear of lack, like not enough money, not enough hours, not enough expertise, some kind of unknown shadows and blockages in my career path, and you say the self-limiting beliefs, like those terms are like, they're my problems. Like, Jenna's talking about my problems. She's talking to me about my problems, and I'm like, I love that I'm calling it a problem, because now I know that I can, like, Jenna's saying this is what she does as a job, that she fixes these things. She works with people to fix them. I'm like, wow, like I could reprogram myself. I wonder what I'll do. And that started to get me really excited about, wow, this could be even bigger than I ever thought, that my future could be even better than I thought if I just do this work. And it's hard work, right? It's like, do all the scary stuff, like explore all the scary problems. And that's what you really helped me step into, and very fast. It's felt like the last few months has just flown by.
Amazing. What would you say, like, I don't really know where to go from this. Like, how do you go about going from listen to a podcast to then implementing whatever you've heard? Hopefully hopefully that's a decent question. I don't know.
It's a lot, right? I think so. I just, like, the kind of project manager in me was like, Jon, you need to create a plan, but you need to know what the tasks are in the plan. So I know what the problems are: self-limiting beliefs, fear, lack of abundance, this kind of 3D old world traditional mindsets that will break me in my new business. So I started to write down some of these problems. And as I went through podcasts, so what I did is, and I did this like hour long video explaining exactly what I did, but on YouTube. But basically, I started with something that I've in my plan. I started with something that I learned from my software job, which was like writing a future statement of a press release. So in 3-4 years time, what does Jon want? What do I want to do? And I was like, well, I know that about 5 times more people are going through these spiritual awakenings. What am I going to do for them? Like, they're my customers. How am I going to help them? So I wrote that one page, and I was used to doing that. But what the total mindset difference was, in business, I'd only ever written plans about teams and products, never about me. And I think that is a total shift, because I then realized when you look at this first page, which is like, written from the future, and it filled me with such joy, because I'd managed to like place my order with the universe and say, hey, universe, I want these things. And like my subconscious is listening, and like every part of me is like, yes, Jon, yes, these are the things you want. It's like, yes, I do. And then I started to, I was also going through your podcast, and I was noting down more things. So I added, you have like, what are the gaps? Like, what do I not know how to achieve, to be able to achieve these things? And then I had the, what help I need to close those gaps. I had tenants. So how will I achieve these things? Like, I don't want to just like make a certain amount of money or have a certain lifestyle. I wanted to figure out that balance. Like, I could, in a world where I can make the money and fail because I'd been so miserable and has such a bad work-life balance, those tenets really helped me balance each of those. And you also, like, a big revelation for me is like the perfect client or the dream client is like, oh wow, I could decide, I can make a decision about what people are like to work with. Like, it's like setting out your job as well. You're saying, well, here's my bar. I like, and funnily enough, it's a mirror of my experience with you, which is I want people hungry for my free content. And as I started to create it, it took a little while for me to market it, a few weeks. But when my clients started consuming my daily meditations, they like the ideal ones. They eat them like cookies. They're just like, I want more and more and more. And every time they complete one, they send me a little survey and they say that was good or bad, or this was my experience. And I was like, that's what I want. Like, Jenna's helping me figure out what I want. I also did like a monthly. One of your guests, who I think had worked in finance, was saying, work out like what money do you need at the end of the year? How do you break all these things down per month? So I did all that, and that was a real friction for me. I was like, it's like, wow, that's a lot of money I need to earn. But then I was like, but is it? And what do I need to spend it on? And like, what do I really want? What do I really need? And it all of that like combined, plus things like, what are my primary products? Your to-do list of the money values per to-do item, they're just phenomenal, right? Like, I'm not wasting time tweaking my website that no one's going to see. I'm investing time in, like, I had like at the top of my list, write Jenna's business plan. It was like, write all that down, and I did that just over Christmas. And that for me gave me the confidence to go in January into my corporate job and say, that's it, guys, I'm leaving. And I was like, and the fear I had that you really helped me with is, when I first met you, I was standing at the edge of the cliff. I'm getting shivers down my spine. Happy tingles. And it's like, I've been standing at the edge of that cliff for a long time, for a few years. And you were there with me. And you're like, Jon, just keep listening. Go on the live streams, listen to the podcast. Every time you're in a doubt phase, go and listen to a podcast. Find out like who your guests are, and I just like join them on Instagram and listen to some of their stuff too. And I felt like that breadth that you bring as well is fantastic, because seeing people that are doing this, seeing, and you always talk about the life examples that I see in your work. You're always drawn. You'll say something and you're drawn into like the story or the journey, and they're so powerful because they resonate with me. And my intuition was that the universe wasn't going to kill me the moment I stepped off a cliff. That, like, everything wasn't going to explode. My head wasn't going to explode, but that there's this sensation going through me, which was, if I take that leap, something good's going to happen, but I just don't know what it is, and it's going to be bigger than I could ever have hoped for. And immediately when I resigned, my manager just said, I'm going to help you get clients. Like, the world needs you, Jon. Like, the world needs not the software manager Jon. It needs the whole of you, like the spiritual mentor, the healer, the teacher, and learning all the, bringing in all the stuff I've learned from my career. And it's like you're right. And she's been to some of my meditations at the office, and she's like, you're good at like software, but like this is like your superpower. Chase it, follow it.
That's amazing. I love that so much. Thank you for sharing. I just want to go back to, you were saying about you wrote the plan for in a few years' time what you've achieved. You wrote basically a letter from the future. Hi, Laura. And you got excited doing that. What goes on subconsciously there is you write it as if it's happened. So your brain literally can't tell the difference between real or imagination. And you write it in detail. And everything that you say that you have achieved from the future, it goes on to this filter in your mind called the reticular activating system. So your brain thinks that you've achieved, let's say you've written a book, a best-selling book or something. It thinks that you've already achieved that. And so it's on that filter. And so that filter is there. It's your subconscious mind that sees everything that's happening all around you all the time, and it's passing it through that filter, checking what's relevant for you based on what you've experienced before. But also when you do this work that Jon's done, it's checking what's relevant based on things that you're going to achieve in the future, because you've said you've already achieved them. So the person that you're going to meet that's connected, that's going to get you a door open or an opportunity or something, because you've written that letter from the future, that will kind of go ding on that filter, and you will conscious that person will be in your conscious awareness. So you go and you speak to that person in the room, for example. And that's how it all unfolds. This is manifestation. You're manifesting with your subconscious by using your brain, like intentionally using your brain, right? You are creating your reality. You're not living your life as a passenger, like, oh, it would be nice to do this, but that happens to other people kind of things. Like, no, you can have whatever you want and you choose that for yourself. So yeah,
I love that. Yeah, I love. Thank you for sharing the science behind that as well. Because when I wrote the first few things, I found it quite easy. First few sentences were like, how many people I'd like to touch their lives of directly, and I wrote down like the few thousands, and I tweaked the numbers a bit, and it's like I was almost like quite apathetic about it. It's like, I know that's achievable. Like, that's definitely achievable. And then I kept going down it, and I was like, but what, Jon, is your perfect future? I was like, oh, I think I would do some conferences, I would do some talks, I'd do some events, run some retreats, I'd probably have a studio at some point, or times in other people's studios. And I love that what was going on in my conscious and subconscious was like, oh, actually, like, you fine tune this to what you really want. And it's so funny because I've come back to it. I think that's the other key, right? Come back to it again, because the next time I came back to it, like, it's the first document in my Google Docs. It's the first doc I always read, and I read it most days. And so I'm constantly telling myself, like, I am that person.
Yeah.
The person now is the person that goes on and achieves all those things. There's no real room for doubt, because that's me. I'm those two people. There is one thing I want to share as well. This other big kind of paradigm shift for me was about content creation. And this is really underpinned by putting, like, you talk, I don't think there's a podcast that you have where you don't talk about self-care and self-love first. Like, that was quite shocking to me, because last summer I had a really dark time. I just, I was burning myself out. I was pushing myself too hard on both fronts, on my day job and what was a side hustle back then. And I'd lost myself. I was no idea where I was going, and I was just exhausted. And I was creating content that if you're in a bad place, you'll create bad content. Like, if your vibes are low, if you're feeling lack, like, the more this world becomes more intuitive and aware of receiving the energy of content, it's a bit like if I watch one of your shorts or something, and then I get an advert, like, the energy is like horrible, like some random advert placed in. I'm like, this is awful. It's such a dirty vibration. And then there's someone else I know, and I love that. And
Thank you, John.
and so the self-care first. I know that I can't achieve the things I'm achieving now or in the future without putting my self-care first. And that is quite contrary to many other like teachings, right? It's like to put your self-care first. And this is what I loved. Many people struggle with manifestation, but the content part is like a kind of this flywheel that I really love that you create, where you say, put your self-care first. That means things like getting work-life balance, eating healthily, making sure that you have exercise, and making sure that before you go and create something, check in on yourself. And just like you were saying at a dance class earlier, it's like, I did a dance before this because I was like, I know I'd been moving and running and gym and yoga and all these things, but I'd kind of settled down. My vibe had settled down for the day. And I was like, no, I want to be high vibe again. And when people connect with me, to feel that. And what you taught me was, and my guides were showing me that this morning meditation, how this works is that when you dance, for example, before you create content, all of your atoms in your body, everything starts raising up and vibrating higher. And then all the stuff that doesn't serve you, you can release and shake off and I'll release you. And so when you sit down to concentrate and focus your mind on something, you're in this very strong, high vibration position. And so when you're creating that content, people feel that, you're resonating out, and they just feel it. And that really made me think, I had a cold for about a week, a quite bad cold over the Christmas period. And I was like, I can't, I always think, what would Jenna do? Would Jenna go and create that content? It's like, no, you need to heal. And resting is a practice, right? I watched 5, whatever they are, Indiana Jones movies, and I watched whatever it took to be a practice of self-care. And I also added in my business plan my self-care practice. What are the things? I love cold baths, walks in nature, time with the family, board games, that long list of things that you know that when your vibe is low or you're feeling worried or you're feeling stressed, and also go and listen to Jenna's podcast, is go to these places and invest that time, because what happens, you then create high vibe content that goes out into the ether, into the universe, received by others. And what happens, you get more engagement, more clients, and that feeds back into you. So it's this constant feedback loop. And so it's up to you to set your intention and set your vibration.
Yeah, it's so much easy. It's just so much easier to create content. It's never an effort. And I sometimes, last week, because I brought the launch date for the membership forwards, because I just got bored of talking about the wait list, and I was like, well, I've got a lot of work to do to get this up and running by the time I brought it forward to tomorrow, so I've got a lot of work to do, but it's all right, we're not going to get stressed about it. What will be. And then I was aware that I wasn't really putting out content because, can't do everything. Well, I could do everything, but I choose not to.
Yeah.
I'm not pushing at all in my business ever. I know you know this, but for anyone watching. And so I just, let it be easy. And I got inspired and went live quickly, and probably ended up going live again because I thought I was going live with somebody, and then turns out I got the date wrong. So I just went live anyway. And I was just kind of relying on live streams, and that is enough, right? That's flow, ease and flow. And if there was a day when there wasn't a post last week, it's a fear-based thought to think I'm not posting enough. So you just let it be. You just let it be, and you just focus your mindset on it's just coming from a place of I'm always enough. And it just changes the game, because there's never any pressure. The minute there's pressure, you realize it, and you just go, you change the game, you switch up. I'll be teaching about this all inside the membership. But yeah, it just coming from this way, I had this shift when I did my own inner work, and it's honestly been so game changing for me. And then shortly after that, the intuition came in to pivot and start solely focusing on business owners, because when they are doing their business this way, their lives improve, and the people in their lives improve because of that ripple effect, and then their clients' lives improve because they're in a better place. You can't pour from an empty cup. And it's just, yeah, like it's just such a mission to share this way, because it gets to be so much more fun and easeful. Like, yeah,
absolutely.
classic Monday morning. Like, sorry, go on, John.
Yeah, I was gonna say a few things. Like, one is I feel like, and I resonate with you, that I'm driven. You know, I whatever, like, you know, 2,300 songs. Like, it's like doing that in a few years. It's like, it's a huge amount. But be careful that your superpower is also your weakness. Where, like, with me, I was just, you can pour your energy down a drain, like into this, literally this empty void, and it's a universe that only contains you, and you're broadcasting this stuff out constantly, and you're burning yourself out like this only star in the universe in the night sky. And the reality is, you don't need to define yourself by how much you create or how much you do. And I did add to, like, one of my tenets in my plan. I said that resting is productive, and that my vibration is my currency. Like, and I also switched. A big switch for me this year as well was, like, I don't watch like horror movies anymore.
No.
I, like, even if I'm watching an action movie, it'll be like something like a PG that my kids would watch at most. Like, everything I consume now, even like chocolate and I mean, everyone's different. Everyone, you know, is kind of has a vice, or is their vibration is lowered by different things. For me, I was like, that's it. Like, every time I'm thinking about myself, I'm thinking about what will my clients consume from me, from that energy that I put into myself. Because I'm no longer just responsible for me. I'm responsible for a business and what people consume. And in the free content, I also had the luxury of meeting some of my clients, and of course, you don't know that they're clients when you first meet them, right? But I did a mindfulness meditation teaching course, and now I'm on a reflexology year-long diploma. The people that I meet, they're like, initially I was quite reserved. I was like, I don't really want to call myself psychic. I don't really want to call myself, like, explain all this woo-woo stuff. But as they built up some trust, they're like, what is it you do, John? It's that, what do you call it? Like that quantum healing thing? And, like, who taught you that? And what's your qualification? I'm like, oh, well, I'm pretty much self-taught. I've had some great mentors, but, you know, really it's something I've been doing and developing myself. I'm doing the inner work for several years now. Oh, could I have one of those? And I've had, like, my teachers, like, sign up, and I've had some of the class members sign up. But the first stepping stone I did was just like my experience with you, Jenna. It's like, I created a library of 17 guided meditations, the same ones that I do each day, that help me develop my abilities. And I do them, like, it looks exactly like this. Like, in my music studio, I do it as high quality as I can. And just like if I was charging someone, you know, £1,000 per guided meditation, I put that out there as a training course. And I also so I take a YouTube video and I just wrap it in a little, like, intro and then a survey. And then, like I was saying earlier, when people connect with it, what you thought might not have been a client, or vice versa, you thought they might be a client but are not, that they connect with that content, and then they started, like, feeding back and saying, okay, this is I get you. Like, John, I understand your energy. I understand the sorts of things you do. I do or don't like it. And I think, yeah, the conversion rate is, like, super high. It's, like, shockingly high for those that engage, that get to the free content. You know, it's like, whatever, I can't remember exactly now. It must be like about 14 or 15 out of 17 so far. And I also know that I'm learning about my business, having met my clients and talking to them and asking them what they want. Like, I ask them what they'd like me to create. You're always asking, what podcast should I do next? And I ask, what meditation should I do next? And it's great because they give you these ideas, and then you do them for them for free, and then they share them with others and say, look, this was really fantastic. I really enjoyed this. You should try it too. And I'm also appreciating that some of my clients, like, for the 6 people now that have signed up for my Higher Self Foundational training next week, I've known them for years, but they've always been in the background, and they engaged more recently with the free content. And I was like, yes, this is the universe is like showing me that just my behavior with you is also an opportunity with my business, which I super love. So thank you.
Yes. Amazing. Okay, so let's flip this round there, because the title of this podcast was how to maximize your ROI of your time consuming free content. But if we switch this round, and hopefully people watching have their own business, take this on board. If you can have the mindset shift that both John and I have, whereby you treat anybody who chooses to spend their time on your Instagram page, or if you've got a podcast or YouTube channel, wherever it is, you choose to treat them like a client. They're just a non-paying client, because for somebody to invest their time, that is so valuable. So when you have that mindset shift that everybody who chooses to follow me and watch my stories or read my content or listen to my podcast, whatever it is, they are a client, just a non-paying client, but there's no difference, right? In terms of you pour everything into your content to give them the most value possible, because then what happens as people receive that, they're like, well, John literally has changed his life just from consuming like my free content and my podcast. But you know, not expecting that all the time, but like people have that experience where they're like, wow, I'm getting so much value from just listening to this podcast or watching stories every day, whatever it is, that it must be even better to invest with this person and work with them on a deeper level. And I know that the fear-based mindset of that is, well, if I give it all away for free, they're not going to want to pay me. But the flip there is, no, people pay to get closer proximity with you, right? So they get a higher transformation when they invest their money, but you can still give away so much and pour from a real like open heart space, pour value into your content. The more you do it, the more people will feel that, and they will subconsciously feel connected to you. So they go out and they search for your stories, and they've not seen you on their feed for a while. They will type your name in the search box to watch the content that you put out recently. So it's such a mindset shift, but it's a real like abundance place to sit as a coach or an online service provider.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And to answer the question about, you know, how much free content should you make? Like, how do you balance that with everything else? How do you avoid, like I had in previous years, energy vampires who will suck you dry? You know, where I sit is like, I chose free content that I love creating, that I would create probably anyway. A 10-minute meditation for me takes about 15 minutes to like record, upload, put a little training wrap around it. And I just, once, you know, whenever I'm talking to someone or when I'm giving updates on what I'm doing, I'm always like just sharing it again. And to your point, Jenna, like, don't rely on the algorithms. Like, a lot of our work that we do is like, the algorithms are hopeless for it, right? They're these popularity-based, interaction-based algorithms that they're not clever enough to know that who your clients are. Like, so it's really helpful for you to do a little bit of advertising. And when you can get people, like, the other thing that you helped me with, Jenna, was even my newsletter, which is free, that I send out each week. If I can get someone to sign up for my newsletter, they've just become a free client.
Yeah.
And as like, you've just started on my business ladder, and you may or may not even notice, and you may or may not continue forever on that. But now when someone says no to me, or, you know, they seem a bit lukewarm, I say, well, look, just give me your email address or go and sign up here. And then, you know, then if they're interested, they'll definitely be attracted to it. And it's like this, you know, without kind of overdoing it. Like, you don't see me posting every single day about my free meditations, but for me, it's like the foundation. And I see in your podcast, like, you just seem to have so much fun creating them, and that spills out in the energy of them. And I do look forward to them when they come out. And when I'm bored, I look back at all the backlog, and or if I'm feeling down, and I just go back through them again. And I love that, because it just gives this flexibility. And I know that for you, you're doing it because you enjoy it, and you're also like, you're broadening your reach.
Yeah, honestly, the podcast and any content creation, it's always from because I made that higher self system, but I do it like, right, that's the whole point. You have to be fully embodied. So the higher system, I downloaded the higher self system because it was just a way to talk about what I already do. So content creation or like podcast creation, whatever it is, it's so easeful because I just like put myself first, and then whatever comes through, I create. And if I'm not in the right mood to create it, I won't. Like, I don't ever force myself. I literally feel like we could talk for hours, Jon.
That's right.
I do have to do some work today. I've been to my dance class, and there is stuff to do on my to-do list, so I will crack on with it in a second. But thank you so much for joining us. And I was going to ask, because I know, let's say somebody watches this live and it's the first time they've come across you or I, and you've raved about the podcast. You can look at a podcast and be like, where do I start? And then a confused mind doesn't take action. And so it's so easy, because you're on autopilot, it's so easy just to be like, I don't know where to start. Oh, well, I'll go and do something else. So let's like kind of give people a little bit of well, let's ask you, what did you do when you saw the podcast, or knowing what you've like listened to? Where would you advise somebody to start? Like, go find bigger than you. Where's the best place to start, do you think?
Yeah, like find, follow Jenna on Instagram, and then look you up on Spotify as well. And then as you're listening to podcasts, like to that confused mind part, like take notes. So I'm not really a note taker naturally, but I'll listen to something, and next time I'm sat down, I've got Google Docs on my phone, and I just take a note, and it would say something like, create a to-do list with monetary value, and that's all it said. And I wouldn't give a date, and I wouldn't say when I had to do it, and it'd just be like a little bullet point. And over the course of 10, 20, 30 podcasts, I had quite a long list, but I didn't like get scared of it. And I knew that, and because one of the first things I did was just I ordered them in monetary value. It's like, well, it feels like that's the most important thing right now. And it was the business plan that drew me, but the business plan needed a finance plan. So like they were all these things that needed put together. So I just, whenever I felt a bit lost as well, whenever you feel like down, like I'm terrified, what do I do? Like, go back to the list and just go, hang on, there's a version of you that knows what to do. And it's trying to tell you through Jenna's work that this was in the past. Remember what you did, Jon. You did these things. You had a little list. You listened to some podcasts. You made yourself feel great and look after yourself with self-love. And then just gradually step through these things and just break that mindset of like, must be done by Monday at 9 o'clock, or whatever it is. Like, no, it's more important that you focus on the right thing for you. And some of those things were shadows too. It's not all like joy. It's like also like face some of those fears. So that's my advice. Start with notes.
Yeah, I love that. It's just like one takeaway. Like, this is the episode. Don't get bogged down by all the things that Jenna said, but what one key takeaway can you take from it and take action on? And then, you've kind of, I like to say, like, in terms of like the brain and creating new neural pathways, if you imagine like a snowy mountain, if you've not done something once, you've got a mountain that's not been skied down before, or like there's no slipstream. So you do it once and you've created a track. So the next time you'll be like, oh yeah, there's the track. What you said about going back to the list, you've done it before, so you can do it again. So I love that point. Thank you. Jon, you are so inspiring yourself. So please, could you do some self-promotion? What's coming up for you? How can people go and download those meditations that you've been talking about? How can people find out more?
Thank you so much. Yeah, the first place, I mean, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm posting every day, both songs and meditation messages from my guides. The real transformational work I can do, as we've said a few times, like my free guided meditations. Like, if you want to know what it's like working with me, you might get a sense from this live or the replay. But like, start to work through some of those, because that journey of those guided meditations is what got me to where I am today. And then if you're ready, you can either join one of my training courses, and right now, like, they're super affordable. I have an 8-week program to help teach you about quantum energy healing, clearing, protection, past life healing, to help you really set yourself up with all of the energetic and psychic and spiritual practices that help you transform your life. And it's those foundations that, you know, will build a solid future for you. And yeah, my website is probably the best place to just go rummaging around. I also have podcasts most weeks on Spotify, and there's also, I post my meditations and my client sessions. So clients that choose to share those, and they're very in depth and very transparent, but they're really magical. So yeah, I'd love to work with you if my work resonates with you.
Amazing. Thank you, Jon. I just want to read some of the comments before we go. Thinking out loud coaching. Hi, both of you. Gosh, that mindset shift of it is enough and I am enough. However I feel energized to show up is okay. Yes, 100%. And then, well, guys, we all need to hear this. Love rest now. It's taken years. Free content is something that sits so intrinsically well with me. Yes, absolutely. Neuroplasticity, that is it. Exactly that. The brain is changeable, right? Nothing that you've learned in the past is there forever. We can reprogram. We can change it. So yes, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining us today, or if you're watching on the replay as well. And I'd just like to share about the membership very, very quickly, which Jon has just joined. So Grounded Wealthy Woman is, as you can see, clearly not a membership just for women. We've got I think 4 or 5 men in there. Yeah. I did a live about this the other day. It just came in, that was the title, but it's not exclusively for women. So yeah, it's a membership around business with ease, right? Everything that we've talked about today has come from the place of the things that I share, and my membership, which is new, is the most accessible way to learn this way of doing it, but not just the coaching side. Like, I recognize that was a kind of a limitation in my free content, right? Podcasts and live streams, I can give so much, but not actually doing any subconscious reprogramming of limiting beliefs. So that's what the membership's for. I'm going to be releasing a new hypnosis track every single month. And we kick off officially with the first hypnosis track on the 1st of Feb, and our theme is I Am Enough. So yeah, so excited. Currently, the investment to join is £33 a month. We've got 10 spots available at that price before the price goes up again. So if you are interested, you're watching this, you want one of those places, just come and DM me, link please. If you want information or you want to join, that would be amazing. We would love to have you in. And yeah, I'm just loving like the vibe in there already. People like networking. Yeah, I'm so excited about where it's going, and like, this is just the start. So yes, thank you, Jon, for just the way that you've shown up for yourself from the podcast to start with, and from my live streams, and it's amazing. It's so amazing to see, and yeah, I can't wait to see everything that's going to unfold this year and beyond. So thank you.
Thank you so much. You changed my life.
Yay! Brilliant. Take care, thanks everybody. See you soon.
See you. Bye.